Hello, high schoolers. I hope everybody's having a great day today. I got up nice and early just so that I could kind of do a demonstration of our sketchbook assignment. Our sketchbook assignment, remember, the pillow, the fabric, laying it down and sketching it out. I wanted to go ahead and kind of do a quick demo to kind of show you guys how to get started if you guys are a little bit scared about it. So I went ahead and I took a pillow and a piece of fabric right here, and I covered the pillow with some white fabric just to make it a little bit easier. My pillow had all kinds of different colors and prints on it. My wife's pretty stylish, so she likes to have things like that. But I took a white cloth and covered over the pillow, gave it a little bit of drape, moved some pieces around, and then I shined a light right on it where I could get a nice light source. Now you can see my light source right about, let's see here, let's move over here and let's get this color just so we can see. The light source is coming from right here, and it's coming down. You can tell by where the bright lights are right here over here. Now let's review how we sketch. We talked about this at the beginning of the year. Now remember, it starts with a loose sketch, define, define, and refine. But what does loose sketch mean when you start to think about that and you start to draw that out? That's usually where people have problems starting. I know that's one of the problems I have. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and take a look at my picture. You could have a pillow right in front of you. You can do the same thing with that. I thought the picture would be nice so you guys could see what I was doing. I'm going to look for some simple shapes in this picture really quick. So I might come over here and find just a shape or two that are going to help right here. I think I see this shape and this shape kind of coming over top of it like this. So I might start my sketch with some simple shapes like that as I start to look at it. So let's go down here. Let's not do it in pink. This is one of my first times ever doing a video like this where I'm sitting here on my iPad and trying this out. You guys tell me what you think of it. So I'm going to come back through here, and remember, draw light until you get it right. I'm using a little bit of a darker pencil than I normally would in this situation, just so I can show you guys kind of what we got going on. So I might start right here and start blocking in those really simple shapes that I've kind of found, and go ahead and just real quick kind of break it down a little bit here. I want that to come up over here now, and then down to about here, I'd say, and then it comes in. So I really just started with just some simple shapes to kind of break it up and get an idea. Now I can go in and start that defining process where I start to define some folds and some areas. So when I do my first define, what I usually like to do is I like to go ahead and map out some of the darkest spaces. So as I come over here and start to sketch this out, this is where some of that dark space is going to be. Although I can see right up here in the top corner there's going to be a little bit of a white right up there that I might have missed really quickly, but that's okay. Actually, probably closer to up here. This is probably a little bit shorter. This is when you go in and start to refine those things. You can go in and you can grab some things to help you out a little bit. So you can kind of erase some areas as you start to refine it a little bit. I'm going to go up here and really quickly just kind of erase some spots up here because I see that light spot over there on that blanket, and I'm just slowly picking away at drawing out and mapping out those values really quick. So I'm going to come over here. It looks like it's going to slide kind of down here with a little bit of a curve. Map this little section out right here, this little section out, and then I'm going to start real quick. I'm just going to go ahead and do some real loose shading very quickly and just map out some of those dark spots that I see. Now take time and look. Remember that slow looking that we talked about when we were watching the videos this week, especially from those talking about art. Things from the Toledo Museum of Art. That's just where one of those places where we can go and we can kind of look and see real slowly as we start to move in and come up with some of these values really quick. Now, instead of going through and just sitting here and drawing the whole thing, I'm not sure anybody really wants to see too much of that, but this gives you an idea of kind of where to start. I'm going to start dropping in those shapes. Then as I start to drop in those shapes and those subtle little value changes, I can start to clean up my edges right here. Where this value, I want to show you this really quickly too. Pay attention to this area in the back. Do you see how this, where the light is shining right here, we get a nice bright edge right along the side over there. So when I'm doing this nice bright edge right there and I start to, whoop, I made a little pink mark on there. When I start to come through this bright edge and look on it, instead of trying to define that space with a line, I might just simply go ahead and shade behind it a little bit just to start with. It's going to give it a better composition too, just by identifying those dark spots. And even over on the other side where it gets really dark, I can go ahead and find if there's any spots where it starts to kind of fade in, because now we really want to start breaking in and getting all of those different value changes. Now again, I'm doing this on an iPad, and I believe I'm using, let's see, what's the name of the app? I'm using Autodesk Sketchbook. I like that one. Lots of people like to use Procreate. I have just been using this one longer. My daughter likes to use Procreate. Now, let's get into some details here. I'm starting to come in here and look at these details. And as I start to come in and look at those details, that's when I really want to start trying to get those different values. I'll start building up the values a little bit and finding all of those different little spots right there. And this has got a little bit more of a curve, so I can kind of edge that out. See, and then it's harder to see the line, and then instead of it becoming a line, it becomes almost like a shape over here if you're starting to look at that. So we're starting to build a little bit of shape. Rembrandt was really good at creating these little spaces like this. If you look at any of his artwork, some of his shading and sketches are interesting to look at. Now remember, we want to start softening those lines nice and lightly with the pencil. We build our value up real slowly. That's the other defining over here. All right, so we're defining and then we're starting to refine. We're starting to add those edges up a little bit, finding some of those creases, finding some of those light spaces, and trying to get all of those different values in there. So take a second this week and really try to slow down and develop some of these areas on your sketch. Really start to look at it. I'm really going to look for a lot of those sort of areas. And I'm just going to start to kind of define those shapes. I'm not really using lines at this situation. I'm just kind of doing some shading, some light shading. Again, you can go back with your eraser and you can start to kind of build those up or take them back if you want to, if it starts to get a little too dark on you. I have that problem. Sometimes I get a little bit too dark. Anyways, so I could sit here and just keep refining and refining this sketch, but I'm going to kind of let you guys go at it and see how you guys do on this project. But remember, I really want you guys to really focus on trying to get all that information that you see in those folds and just start building and building and building. Now remember, pencil and paper, super easy to do. You can start to see we're starting to build up a little bit of form here. I can go back here and get that really dark, and I can start working in some of these smaller areas down there and really take a second and look at these things. And the more you define and define, you can keep going back through these processes over and over. Define, 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 define. And then when you get to the end, you just refine that and you keep all the edges, and everything should look fantastic for you. Remember, pencil and paper, but if you got a sketchbook or if you got a iPad or some sort of tablet where you want to do some of this art, you can go ahead and do it that way too, and you can turn in the sketch that way. I'm pretty flexible, especially if you want to experiment. I'm still trying to do, I'm still trying to experiment while I'm kind of locked up here in our little quarantine. But you can start to see, I can start to come back through here and get in all those things. And I could sit here and refine this all day long. I could get in real close and I could lighten up the edges on some things and just start to soften up some bits. It's a little bit harder to get this close in on a pencil and paper, but that just means you gotta get your face a little bit closer to the paper. So we can sit there and we can draw this. This is all I'm really going to talk about today. I am going to give you guys a heads up. I know I said everything was due on Friday, but we don't have school on Friday. If you want to turn it in to me, work on the weekend, turn it in to me on Monday. If you want to do those things, that's fine too. I won't be delivering any content on Friday, so you guys will have Friday to kind of be what you're going to be, maybe work on your independent project, anything you guys want to get into on Friday, go ahead and do it. But remember, now you don't necessarily have to get this assignment turned into me immediately on Friday, but it would be nice to start to see some of those pictures, but Monday is totally okay too. So anyways, guys, have a great day today, and I will see you guys soon, okay?